In other words, we need, as a movement encourages you or me or Yvonne to define ourselves, we deal with our similarities, and then we must deal with our differences and the differences that are not being dealt with or provided for. Now, once we deal with those differences that aren't being provided for, we do it in a context that says, hey, then we can use these differences without, we don't have to eradicate them, we don't have to, wipe them out. We also don't have to remain with them. There is a total larger picture, and that's how I see it. In other words, I'm talking about the creative use of difference.
Audre Lorde was born in New York City in 1934 to Frederick Byron and Linda Belmar Lorde, immigrants from the West Indies. As a child, Lorde often felt alienated from her family, and reading became an early escape. As depicted in Zami, A New Spelling of My Name, Lorde describes her attraction to the written word. I took the books from Mrs. Baker's hands after she was finished reading, and traced the large black letters with my fingers while I peered again at the beautiful bright colors of the pictures. Right then I decided I was going to find out how to do that myself. I said quite loudly for whoever was listening to hear, I want to read. Reading soon led to writing. Lorde's first love was poetry, and she had her first poem published in 17 magazine when she was still in high school. This became a fruitful career as Lorde published 15 books ranging from poetry such as Coal, Our Dead Behind Us, and The Black Unicorn. To biomythography, a term coined by Lorde to describe the autobiographical Zami, A New Spelling of My Name, and even essays and speeches like Sister Outsider. With Sister Outsider, Lorde focuses her energy on sociology, sexuality, racism, and human nature. Uses of the erotic as power, stands out as one of Lorde's most popular essays from Sister Outsider. In a conversation with Claudia Tate, Lorde introduces her concept of the erotic. Women have been taught to suspect the erotic urge, that place that is uniquely female. So just as we tend to reject our blackness because it has been termed inferior, as women we tend to reject our capacity for feeling, our ability to love, to touch the erotic, because it has been devalued. But it is within this that lies so much of our power, our ability to posit our vision, because once we know how deeply we can feel, we begin to demand from all of our life pursuits that they be in accordance with these feelings. Lorde addresses the erotic as a source of power. Her conviction and her presence is captured in this audio clip.
Now, it is never easy to demand the most from ourselves, from our lives, from our work. To go beyond the encouraged mediocrity of the society that we live in is always fraught with danger and with fear. And the function of the erotic is to encourage excellence. The function of the erotic is to encourage excellence and to give us the strength to pursue it. But giving in to the fear of feeling and working to capacity is a luxury that only the unintentional can afford. And by the unintentional, I mean those who do not wish to guide their own destinies. And I do not think that I hope that does not speak to anyone here now. This internal requirement toward excellence, which we learn from the erotic, must not be misconstrued as demanding the impossible, either from ourselves or from others, because such a demand incapacitates everyone in the process. But the erotic is not a question of what we do alone. It is a question of how acutely, how fully we can feel in the doing. For once we know the extent to which we are capable of feeling that sense of satisfaction, that sense of fullness, that sense of completion, we can then observe which of our various life endeavors bring us closest to that fullness.
Lorde struggled with cancer in the latter part of her life, writing about her experience with her nonfiction work, The Cancer Journals. Her fight with the disease stretched over a decade, and Lorde's breast cancer eventually spread to her liver. But despite her illness, Audre continued to travel to places such as Berlin, where she was struck by the Afro-German movement and became an important political voice.
Racism in Germany, in Switzerland, in Europe must become an issue for white feminists because it is part of your lives. It affects your lives in every way, and the fact that you are not people of color does not make you safe from the effects of it.
Lorde's final years were spent in the Virgin Islands, where she adopted an African name, Gamba Adisa, which can be translated to "she who makes her meaning clear." Lorde died on November 17, 1992, on the island of St. Croix. Lorde's influence can still be felt today. Her poetry has continued to inspire readers and stir emotion. Two notable slam poets, Dominique Christina and Denise Frohman, named their collaboration Sister Outsider Poetry, after the spirit of difference and the work of Audre Lorde.
Sister Outsider is inspired by the life and work of Audre Lorde. We write and perform our otherness and in-betweenness into the center. And through spoken word, we're able to connect our own personal stories to a diverse range of social and political issues, primarily focused around race, gender, and sexuality.
Tell them they have been born again in me.
And sing, you represent a part of me people said I could never claim. We speak to the importance of people, particularly those who are marginalized communities, being visible, being heard, and also moving their voices to the center.
Tulane University devotes an entire week to Audre Lorde, filled with art, research, and conversation, during which human difference is celebrated. Even in the wake of scandal, Lorde's voice echoes. In February 2014, Michael Sam, an NFL prospect, stirred controversy after coming out as gay. Dale Hansen, a Dallas sports broadcaster, made headlines after speaking out against the intolerance surrounding Sam and quoted Lorde in his address.
I'm not always comfortable when a man tells me he's gay. I don't understand his world, but I do understand that he's part of mine. Civil rights activist Audre Lorde said, "It is not our differences that divide us, it is our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences. We've always been able to recognize them, some of us accept them, and I want to believe that there will be a day when we do celebrate them." I don't know if that day's here yet, I guess we're about to find out. But when I listen to Michael Sam, I do think it's time to celebrate him now.
Lorde has made an unforgettable impression through her work and her activism. As articulated by Nancy Barino in the introduction to Sister Outsider, Audre Lorde's writing is an impulse towards wholeness. What she says and how she says it engages us both emotionally and intellectually. She writes from the particulars of who she is: Black woman, lesbian, feminist, mother of 2 children, daughter of Grenadian immigrants, educator, cancer survivor, activist. She creates material from the dailiness of her life that we can use to help us shape ours. Out of her desire for wholeness, her need to encompass and address all the parts of herself, she teaches us about the significance of difference.